Alright, hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to dilute your chemicals. Now I'm going to be going over the tools that you will need, the proper dilution ratios, and even what kind of ratios you should use depending on what chemical you use. So this video is going to be geared towards my car enthusiasts or car professionals, but if you just want to stick around to maybe learn a thing or two, then stick around. And also, enjoy the video. Alright, so there are a couple things you want to keep in mind before you start diluting your chemicals. First things first, safety. If you're going to be diluting specific chemicals such as like acid-based wheel cleaners or even high alkaline all-purpose cleaners, make sure that you get yourself some gloves and perhaps some eye protection to protect you from any potential spills or splashes when you start pouring in the liquids inside a container. Also, some tools that will come in handy are some measuring cups. Make sure you get yourselves a variety of sizes, so like a small cup size, medium, and a large, so that way you can adjust accordingly if it's a small bottle or even a gallon. And then you just need yourself a giant measuring cup, so that way you could use it to pour in the water on the smaller bottles. And also, if you're dealing with bottles that have a very small I would say screw or even the neck size, you would probably need something like this, like a filler, to make sure you put in your liquid without having to make a big mess. And also just a marker of your choice, because if you have a bottle, for instance this foam cannon right here, there are no tick marks or any markings anywhere that tell you what is the dilution ratio, how much fluids is in here. So a marker would help you out if you want to start measuring out your liquids and to see how much product you can use. So yeah, make sure you get yourself a marker so you can start measuring this stuff. Also, and one last thing, I'll be walking you guys over my process on how I do the dilution ratios. For instance, if you got like I'll just come back to this foam cannon for example. If you're trying to go for a specific measurement and then a shampoo tells you to use a specific dilution ratio, if you're having trouble figuring out how do you properly serve that dilution ratio, don't worry, I will go over that process. I'll show you the simple math trick to how to get that right dilution ratio each time, depending on what the bottle size is. Well, with all of that out of the way, let's get started. Alright, so I'm going to be walking you guys over on how to find how much product you need in a specific serving size according to what dilution ratio you're looking for. This will be helpful for bottles that don't have a dilution ratio markings on it. So if you're looking for a specific bottle size like a 32 or a 40 ounce bottle or even the gallons, this will help you out when you have containers that don't have these markings to help you out, or have a specific marking that you're looking for. So I'll walk you guys through that. I created a math equation, which is really easy and straightforward to find out. This formula will give you how much product you will need to get that dilution ratio that you want. So just to go over through this, T will equal to the amount of product you will need to fill up the specific container that you're filling up. Z is the bottle size, not necessarily maxed out, but basically how much product you want. For instance, in this bottle it's a 16 ounce bottle, so you would put 16 up here, or if you're only trying to fill it up to 8 ounces, then you would put that as 8 ounces. So it's pretty much how much product do you want. Now X and Y, those are the ratio numbers. So if you have, for instance, 4:1 dilution, X will be 4, Y will be 1, and then you just add these two together. So this simple math equation will easily get you the answer as to how much product do you need. So I'll just give an example right here. So if you're trying to find the dilution ratio for 4:1 on a 72 ounce container, how much product do you need to fill a 72 ounce container? Well, here's where a calculator will come in handy. So again, that formula that I said right here earlier, you just get your bottle size and divide it by the sum of the ratio. So if I go back here, so I get my bottle size, which is 72, divided by the sum of the ratio, which is 4 plus 1, and that will give you 5. So then that's when you pull out your calculator. 72 divided by 5 And there you go, 14.4. 14.4 is the amount I need to get a 4-to-1 dilution on a 72-ounce container. So you would fill that container with 14.4 ounces of your solution and fill the rest with water. This method's pretty straightforward if you're trying to do specific dilution ratios, or even if you have bottles that don't have that specific measurement or something. So you're trying to get a very specific number. For instance, in this bottle right here, it's from Chemical Guys. You got 1-to-1, 2-to-1, 8-to-1, but you don't see 4-to-1 in here. So it's not too hard to do. You can easily do this with the smaller bottles, or even the larger size gallons or 5 gallons. So this math equation will help you out to find out how much product do you need to fill a specific container with a specific ratio. So yeah, this is a pretty simple math equation to follow. Okay, now that we've already figured out how to find a dilution ratio for a specific bottle, now we could start talking about chemicals. I am going to be going through some all-purpose cleaners and degreasers, shampoos, wheel cleaners, and even some rinseless or waterless wash solutions. So that way I'm going to give you guys my opinion on as to how you should be messing around with the dilution ratios, even though they tell you to use a specific dilution ratio. Alright, first on the list are ACCS and degreasers. The two that I use are Super Clean and Meguiar's Citrus Power Cleaner Plus. I love both of these chemicals. They do an excellent job at what I do. There's one thing to keep in mind. These two products, they tell you the dilution ratios on the back on specific use cases. For example, on Super Clean, it tells you to use full strength on the tires and the engine. Now, me personally, I still get effective results at 4-to-1 dilution. Yes, it does tell you to use full strength. It does have recommendations, but if you're a detailer, even especially if you detail as a business, you need to learn how to use your chemicals efficiently. Just because it tells you to use a specific way doesn't mean that it will always be that way for every use case. So for these two right here, I would only stick with 4-to-1, and I would say a light dilution is probably like 8-to-1 or 10-to-1. I do have 2 balls for those, but I'm still trying to mess around with to see that proper or that sweet spot in between. But just to keep it simple, a heavy dilution for Super Clean is 4-to-1, and then a light dilution for Super Clean is 8-to-1. Same thing could be said for the Meguiar's. For 4-to-1, I am able to clean the tires, clean the engine, remove traffic film on the vehicle, clean the interior, even the fabrics and the hard plastics. And same thing can be said for the Meguiar's cleaner as well. Keep in mind, you don't need one dilution for every single use case. Just keep it simple. You need a light dilution ratio and a heavy dilution ratio. That is all. You don't need to overcomplicate it. Just keep it simple, and you will still get effective results while being efficient at the same time. Alright, next up on the list are car shampoos. The two that I'm just going to be using as an example is Turtle Wax Ice Snow Foam Wash and Meguiar's Detailer Series Shampoo Plus. If you have a pressure washer that's, I would say, less than 1.5 GPM, you're going to run into some issues here. The first issue would be tap water. Why tap water? Well, the tap water has a lot of minerals inside in the water that prevent any shampoo from foaming up properly in coming out of your foam cannon. For me, I use a deionizer tank, so I am able to get 0 ppm water, which would give me the best results for shampoo and also drying the vehicle. But if you're using a pressure washer with tap water, you're going to run into issues as to how much you're able to foam. So how do you get shaving cream results? If you're a fan of it, how do you get those results with tap water? Well, I'm going to give you a little simple trick. If you're using a dedicated snow foam wash, even though they tell you to only use 1 to 2 ounces, you'll realize that you're getting very runny foam because you're using tap water. So how do you fix that problem? So if they tell you to use 1 to 2 ounces, you're probably going to have to use 3, 4, or even 5 ounces of shampoo to get that shaving cream quality foam. Now, same thing could be said for shampoos that are not meant to go in a snow foam. No, I'm sorry, in a foam cannon. Unfortunately, that there's just no way around it if you're sticking with a pressure washer that doesn't have enough water output, and then you're also using tap water. Now, if you have a deionizer tank, you can actually get some very effective results in terms of foaming capabilities. So if you use deionized water with a dedicated snow foam, you can actually get away with a 16:1 dilution ratio. So yeah, like with a deionizer tank, even with my pressure washer that I have is the Greenworks 1.2 GPM, even with that little water flow, I can still get enough shampoo, shaving cream results at 16:1 dilution. See, that's the special thing about a deionizer tank. So you can get away with much less product. Yeah, you're probably gonna have to fill up the resin a lot more, but you get effective results for using a deionizer tank. If you're using tap water with pressure washer with less than 1.5 GPM, you're going to have to use 1 to 8 dilution ratio to get effective shampoo, shaving cream results. If you're using deionized water with the same pressure washer, you can get away with 16:1 dilution ratio. Unfortunately, there's just no way around it. The water is going to mostly play as to how much shaving cream you're going to get. So you're going to have to keep that in mind. Your pressure washer and the quality of your water. Those are the two main factors on how much shaving cream foam you can get out of your shampoos. Alright, so the next subject are wheel cleaners. Here I'm going to be showcasing two different products. This one's a PNS Brake Buster, and this is Meguiar's Wheel Brightener. Now, what's so special about wheel cleaners? Well, if you get a wheel cleaner that is meant to be diluted, so it's shipped to you as a concentrate, for instance, like Brake Buster here in the gallon size, you will need to dilute it according to your needs. Now, my thought process when it comes to wheel cleaners is very similar to all-purpose cleaners, but for non-acid wheel cleaners, I have two things. A light cleaner and a medium cleaner. So like the ratio was what I mean. And then for a heavy cleaner, I don't actually use PNS Brake Buster. I use Meguiar's Wheel Brightener because PNS, it's a great product. It cuts through brake dust very nicely. But if I encounter a vehicle with a lot of brake dust, like that they have never cleaned the wheels in the lifespan of the vehicle, unfortunately PNS is not going to cut it, and that's where Meguiar's Wheel Brightener comes in. Here, the way I diluted it, I don't really have a light cleaner for this one, because I'm just so happy with this specific dilution ratio. I use PNS Brake Buster at 3:1 dilution. It's kind of a sweet spot in the middle. I could use the 5:1 recommended dilution ratio, but to be honest with you, 5:1, it's very watery for me, and I don't really see effective results at that dilution ratio for my use case, since I am detailing other people's vehicles. If you're a car enthusiast and you work on your own cars, yeah, I guess 5:1 dilution ratio will probably suit you best. But me, as a business, encountering the specific vehicles that have a lot of brake dust in them, I find the sweet spot to be 3:1. Try measuring out your gallons to get that proper dilution ratio that you want is very helpful, so that way it makes refilling it a lot easier. And when you have it ready like this, you can put it in other containers such as spray bottles or even a pump sprayer. This one happens to be the IK Multi Pro 2 pump sprayer. This helps me out a lot because it has great atomization. And remember what I said about deionized water helps cleaners? It actually helps with wheel cleaners as well. PNS Brake Buster actually has some great foaming capabilities. So if I shake this up a bit, you see it's already foaming up quite a bit here. So using deionized water with products that offer a lot of foaming action, if you provide distilled water or deionized water, you can get some very effective foaming action when you use that. So this cleaner, I love it because it's kind of my last resort product. If PNS cannot get rid of the brake dust that I'm dealing with, I switch it over to Meguiar's Wheel Brightener, because this will shred right through all of the nasty brake dust that had been there for years, or I don't know how long the owner probably has never kept the car clean. Just for safety purposes, Meguiar's Wheel Brightener is an acid-based cleaner, so make sure you get yourself a bottle that can actually resist acid. For instance, most of the IK sprayers, and I think some pump sprayers too, they actually work well with acid cleaners. This bottle right here from Chemical Guys, this will not cut it. I've already broken like 2 or 3 of these bottles here. So if you start using them in bottles like these, like the Adams or the Chemical Guys generic spray bottles, not only will the pump get stuck, but it will start dripping from down here. And because this is acid, you don't want that stuff on your hands. Make sure you have some gloves or even some eye protection when working with stuff like this. And even if you do dilute it in products, always wear gloves and goggles or any sort of protection to protect yourself from harsh chemicals. So be wary of that. So yeah, that's my take for wheel cleaners. If you're doing this as a business, I would get a non-acid cleaner, find that right dilution ratio for your use case, and stick with that. And then for your heavy duty stuff, I would get an acid-based wheel cleaner to deal with all that heavy brake dust. So for me, in my use case, PNS Brake Buster 3-to-1. It's that sweet spot of light to medium brake dust removal. And if I encounter heavy stuff, Meguiar's Wheel Brightener at 1-to-8 dilution is pretty strong. Even there is a 4-to-1 dilution. That one actually works, but just to keep it efficient, I use 1-to-8 dilution. So yeah, that's my take for wheel cleaners. Alright, now next up is waterless wash solutions and rinseless wash solutions. The two products I'm going to be talking about today is Chemical Guys Eco Smart Waterless Washing Wax and Optimum Technologies ONR. These two, I'm not trying to compare these two by any means. This is just mostly to talk about how do you properly dilute this kind of stuff and where to apply it and how to use it more effectively. First, we're going to start with Chemical Guys here. So they have this waterless wash solution where you dilute it 16-to-1. But what you could do with this stuff is that even though it tells you use 16-to-1, since this is a waterless solution, yes, it leaves a small amount of layer of wax behind, but if you want to use this as a quick detail spray, you can actually bump up the dilution ratio even further. So if this is 16-to-1, you can actually use 32-to-1 and use this as a quick detail spray for just very light amounts of dust. You don't need to use 16-to-1 all the time. I mostly use this for the door jams. Now, if I wanted to use this as a really quick detail spray or as like a drying aid, I can use this at 32-to-1 perfectly fine. Now, we're going to talk about ONR, the big daddy here. So, ONR is a very unique product because you can actually use this in so many places here. Now, ONR, even though it's a rinseless solution and it only tells you to use it like as a rinseless solution, you can actually use this in a lot of places. So for example, to do a rinseless solution, and according to the instructions, it's 256-to-1. Now the tricky part about this is if you plan on using this in mass production, this will probably be a lot easier for you because you probably have 5 gallons or a barrel size containers, so you can easily measure this. But what if you're someone at home who doesn't really use this that often, but you use it every once in a while? How do you dilute it accordingly in a small bottle like this? How do you get 256-to-1 in here? You can't even measure that properly in a small bottle like this. So how do you find such a dilution with this product if you're not using it as often? Well,
since it is 256 to 1, if you do the math, 256 is actually 2 gallons of water. If you want to get 1 gallon of product with that dilution, you put half an ounce in 1 gallon. But let's say you want to make it easy for yourself. Instead of refilling each time, you just want to make a 5-gallon solution with 256 to 1 ratio. It would be a lot easier. For example, in my use case, I have O&R 256 to 1 in a 5-gallon container. For me, I use it quite often. I'll make a video on that later. But for me, it's just really helpful to have this knob here to just fill up my bucket, and also to just put it in a pump sprayer. It just makes it so much easier to just put the caps in here and just fill the rest with water. When it comes to O&R, you have a couple options here. You can use this as a rinseless solution, 256 to 1, quick detail spray at 128 to 1, a clay lubricant 64 to 1, 128 to 1. You can actually use this as an interior cleaner to give it a quick wipe or any of that stuff. Both of these, you can use it for the exterior as just a cleaner, or you can use it as a quick detail spray. I'm not trying to make direct comparisons, because I know O&R has much more use cases than Chemical Guys equal the waterless wash and wax. But just to make a quick distinction, if you're using a rinseless solution, you're probably going to have much more options to clean the interior and exterior. But if you want to focus more on the interior, then yeah, you can, the exterior, you can get yourself a waterless solution of any brand of your choice, and then you just use it accordingly to what you want to do. So yeah, that's my take on rinseless and waterless solutions. And that is it for this video, guys. I hope you found it helpful. Hopefully this tutorial on how to find the proper dilution ratio, how to use your chemicals more efficiently. I really do hope this actually helps you out in making your business a lot more efficient, or if you're a car enthusiast, so that way you have a brand new way of diluting your chemicals. If you're a car enthusiast or a car professional, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below and hit that bell icon, so that way you're informed with every video that I upload. And make sure to drop a like and a comment to share your opinion as to what you have learned, or maybe you have an opinion about how you can dilute these chemicals here. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Stay safe. Have a good time.